So, have you seen this movie, The Special? The Special was released in October of 2020 to various streaming services. I saw this on Amazon Prime Video, but I'm sure it's out there on other places. I think I saw it might be available on Tubi TV. The Special is a low-budget horror film, okay? It's kind of in the vein of The Twilight Zone, or if you were a kid from the 80s like me, you might remember a similar type show called Tales from the Dark Side. It's a horror story with some twist to it, kind of, I guess. That was the idea anyway in the script. The basic story centers around this character named Jerry. All right, Jerry believes his wife, Lisa, is cheating on him. Now, we'll give this movie some credit right off the bat. They don't spend a lot of time screwing around. It just jumps right into this bar setting with Jerry and his friend / co-worker, Mike. Gotta love these names. Jerry, Lisa, and Mike. Very, very thoughtful names. Not in any way are these names generic at all. Anyway, oh, by the way, one other thing about Mike, Jerry's friend. He is the same actor that played Officer Doofy in Scary Movie. So he's much older now, has some Just for Men in the beard to make himself appear still younger and masculine, even though he's not. Anyway, they are talking over some booze at a bar with the bartender, Mort. Mort comes back for no reason, just as filler. Anyway, they're commiserating over these booze, and Mike convinces Jerry that, if she's cheating on you, dude, the best thing you need to do is cheat on her. That's the way it works. So, yada-da, la-da-da, they end up, Mike knows about this brothel. This brothel is, the front for the brothel is a psychic, Madame Zora, I believe is her name. And so Mike takes Jerry to Madame Zora's brothel. And they go in there and they talk to the ladies who are down front. One of them being Sin, and it's S-Y-N. So you know she's a bad girl when she spells her name Sin like that. Anyway, it's funny how they highlight Sin in the beginning, and she's all gold. She's got this glitter gold makeup and stuff on, crazy looking eyes, and hot girl. I'd do her. But anyway, Sin plays absolutely no role in this story at all. I don't know who she knew in terms of the director or producer or something like that, but they were like, oh, we're going to work Sin into this heavily, even though her character plays no role in this movie whatsoever, because once you're done at the brothel, Sin never comes back. So we make a big deal out of Sin in this scene for some reason, but she never comes back. Anyway, Mike tells Jerry that, you don't want the average girls for this thing. You want the special. So after some discussion and blah, 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 Jerry does go to a room to get the special. And when he gets into this room, he discovers that the special is inside of a box. Just a plain old black painted wooden box that has a sign on it that says, stick it in here. So after some time padding, screwing around with Jerry, thinking, oh, this must be a joke or this is a prank and blah, blah, blah. Let me look around. For some inexplicable reason, Jerry decides that, yeah, okay, I will stick my dick in a box. Now, in real life, would you ever do such a thing? I mean, you go to a brothel, you go into this room, there's a wooden box. Your friend says, oh yeah, we've been drinking, but oh yeah, stick your dick in there. I mean, I guess if you've been drinking, maybe, some people believe holes is holes, right? Holes is holes. I don't believe that holes is holes. I would not be sticking my dick in this box. But Jerry is, we got to move the story along. So Jerry eventually does stick his purple-headed warrior inside of the box, and he blows his load in record time. Okay, at least I hope it's record time for Jerry. I hope he lasts longer than 6 to 8 seconds with a real woman. Anyway, it's a mind-blowing experience, so much so that Jerry passes out on the bed after he's, busted his fluids everywhere. So, Officer Doofy, Officer Doofy, has to help get Jerry into the car, and he gets the brothel's bouncer, who's Rusev, who actually will be a character that comes into play later in the story. Every other character we've been introduced to, besides Jerry and Mike, all these side characters of Madame Zora, Sin, the brothel girls, they really don't play much of a role. I mean, Madame Zora does, but we'll get to that. They got to zip up his thing. They get him in the car, take him home. Jerry is just obsessed with this, box that he just busted his epic nut in. He wants to go back. His friend, Officer Doofy, says, no, it's a one-time thing. You just hit it and forget it kind of thing. Don't ever, let's not do that again. So he gets home. He gets home to his cheating wife, Lisa, that cheating whore. And she drops a big bombshell. I mean, this is monumental to the story. Not really. I'm being sarcastic. It goes nowhere. Lisa announces that she's preggers. And of course, Jerry, believing that she's cheating, says, is it mine? Or he says something to that effect. He wants to know if it's his or if it's the dude she's been banging on the side. Well, that's an awkward moment between the two, like all the scenes in this movie. Whether the scene was written to be an awkward moment or not, all of the scenes between Jerry and Lisa are very awkward. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a 50-50 thing on this, or I don't know if it's bad writing or if it's bad acting or if it's both. The writing, I will just go ahead and say this about this movie. The writing is absolutely horrid. Okay. The dialogue is very, it's constructed like if you sat down at the computer and you said, okay, I'm going to write a script now. And, you write in that scripty kind of way. There's a difference between the way people have real conversations and the way people write conversations, whether you're reading a novel or you're reading, it's a stage play or it's a screenplay or something like that. A lot of people have trouble writing dialogue for characters that sounds real, and that's exactly the problem here with the special. The dialogue is so wooden. It's one of those fill in the blank kind of things where it's like, well, if this person said that, then this person would say that, and then they would respond with this, and then that would happen, and scene. There's no probing of any real issues here. There's no breakthroughs. It's just wooden dialogue. It's a horribly written script. And then I think it's equally delivered wooden by the actors here, Jerry and Lisa. Lisa apparently is she was a model, and that'll come into play later. Her name's Sarah French, pretty girl, sexy, all that good stuff. Jerry's a, pint-sized wuss. I couldn't get into Jerry's character at all, primarily because the actor, he's just this pansy. And as the thing goes along, they try to portray him more and more as a badass. And I'm just like, look, this little panty waist right here couldn't hurt a flea. And I'm not buying it. Even if he is possessed or diseased or whatever ends up happening, which is not, I guess it's explained, but anyway, this exchange between Lisa and Jerry is awkward, like all of their scenes together, because the dialogue is shit and the acting is shit. Next day, we go to the generic office, barren generic office. It's, if you watch these low budget films like this, you've seen an office just like this in about 25 or 30 movies. It's just a generic barren office. We don't know what they do, but Mike and Jerry work there, and so they're not only friends, but they're coworkers. And then we get this big revelation. We find out that Lisa was texting a snowblower salesman. She was not cheating on Jerry. All the suspicious texting that Lisa was doing was just to buy him a snowblower for his birthday. So now, oh my God, crisis. Jerry's dumped his load in this whore of a box that who knows how many dudes have dumped their load in. And he's freaked out because, oh my God, I cheated in a box on my wife, who I thought was cheating on me, but it turns out she's actually not cheating on me. She was just being a sweet, wonderful woman and trying to buy me a snowblower for my birthday. Well, that's great. See, again, this is the problem with this whole movie, is it's a very paint by numbers script. It's like they outlined this script and they said, okay, there's got to be certain beats, right? Like we need to have this. We need to set up the situation. We need to have establish the conflict. And then we need to have that mistaken, oh my God, I did something because I thought something was one way, but it's really not that way. So, we had the wife is cheating. Oh, wait, no, she's not cheating. She was actually being a good wife and doing the snowblower thing. That was set up to get Jerry to the brothel and to get him to fuck the box. So we can do away with that story now. You'll see this throughout this whole movie, if you bother to watch it, that it's set up in a way to get characters into the situation that the plot needs them to get into. It's not, things don't happen organically or naturally, or the story doesn't flow towards things. It's just, we need this beat to happen here, so we're going to insert this beat into the story to get us where we want to go. And, in a way, that's all scripts, right? That's all writing. You're going to do that sort of thing. But there are ways to make it seem much more natural and real versus what you have here in this movie. It's very unnatural. It's very wooden. It's very obvious that this is where the writers were trying to get to. And, I'm not a writer of movies, but if I can see it, then clearly that's not a good thing. Moving along that day, Jerry is just completely obsessed with getting back to the box. It was just the most amazing thing ever. So he goes on this little side adventure that's really just there to pad the runtime. Nothing of any consequence happens. He goes to this other psychic, to try to find Madame Zora's place because he can't find it, whatever. Anyway, he ends up eventually finding Madame Zora's place on his own because Officer Doofy won't help him find it. And, we're trying to establish that he's in this very frantic state. He's been infected with the love bug for a box to dump a load in. And anyway, eventually he finds Madame Zora. He goes there. He gets round 2 in the box. It's incredible. It's the most amazing, nut-busting experience he's ever had. And he makes what I guess is a decision that he must have the box. He must have it. There are no other options. So he decides he's going to steal the box. Madame Zora starts knocking on the door. She's like, hey, time's up, buddy. I hope you're done. Zip it up and get the fuck out. But somehow Madame Zora gets on the ground. Jerry stands there for a few minutes, and he makes the decision that Madame Zora must die because he must be able to steal this box. So he puts his foot on Madame Zora's neck, and it's drawn out in this very stupid way. It looks very fake, and it looks very dumb, and almost like a stage play, where you're playing this out in front of a live audience, and you can't make it look real because you can't really choke somebody. But anyway, Jerry kills Madame Zora so that he can run off with the box. That's the basic bottom line. After going for round 2, Jerry kills Madame Zora so that he can take the box for himself. At this point in my notes, I made a note that, and I've kind of alluded to it already, every interaction between the characters in this, which is, I think, again, that 50-50 bad script, bad acting, but every interaction seems very flat. People are just saying their lines, and it's in no way believable. They're very flat performances. It's like seeing zombies. It's like, I must walk to this point right here in the scene and say this line and wait. And then actor B says their lines, and now I must respond with this. I think you'd get a more lively performance from robots in this, versus the actors in this, because it'd be pretty negligible on the difference. I think it'd be about the same thing. Not good acting, in other words. Next big thing to happen, Jerry sees that he can rent this little room above a bar. There's some hotel rooms above this bar. And so he decides, okay, I'm going to set up a nice little love shack with the box and me in this little crappy hotel. He goes to the bartender, who's also the guy who rents out the rooms, and instantly the bartender is a prick to him. And this is another theme you see throughout this movie, is that people who are just meeting for the very first time are pricks to each other. Like, they're just instantly confrontational and dickheads. And I don't understand why, number one, it was written this way, and I don't understand why the actors were directed to act this way. It's very strange that you go up to somebody. I mean, do you go up to somebody in Home Depot and just immediately say, hey, dick face, or hey, prick, I want to find a hammer. Help me find it, you dick face prick. That's kind of how all of these interactions between characters that don't know each other come off in this movie. And I really don't understand why that is, but that's the way it is. So the bartender's a prick to him. He ends up renting the room. The bartender makes it pretty clear to us, the audience, that this is a sketchy place. This is where people come to do drugs or come to, kill hookers or whatever it is. But anyway, eventually Jerry rents the room and he goes upstairs. And this is when I really noticed the music, the score to this movie. I mean, I noticed it before. It was irritating me subconsciously before, but it was during this scene when Jerry rents the room that it really bothered me. The scoring and the music selection for this movie is just garbage. They picked incompatible music, and I don't even know really what they were going for. I mean, in the brothel scene, when we get there in the beginning, they're obviously going for some kind of, sultry, sexy, red light district kind of music. But they missed the mark on that. They missed the mark really bad on their selection of that. Just in my opinion, I get it. You go for the sexy sax. You want it to sound sultry and red light district and body heat and but no, it doesn't work. And then here, when we get into the love nest that Jerry's renting for him in the box, I don't know. I honestly don't know what this music is going for. It struck me out of nowhere that it's like, oh my God, this music does not match anything. I mean, it's not helping me visualize anything that they're trying to get across here. In the next scene, we have, again, another one of these really oddly written, oddly acted interactions. The maid sees Jerry, locking up the room in the hallway. It immediately turns confrontational, awkward, weird. He's just really emphasizing to the maid that I don't want you to go into this room ever at all for any reason. Don't bother it. And it's immediately confrontational. And I don't understand. It's like every scene in this where people are meeting somebody for the first time. It's this weird confrontational kind of thing. And again, the actor who plays Jerry, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he does not come across as a tough guy. He does not come across as a guy that anybody would be intimidated by. Okay? He's this little pansy. And that's fine. He can be a little pansy, but don't put him in these situations where he's trying to come across unhinged or, dangerous. He's a dangerous guy because he's just, oh my gosh, look at him. He's unhinged. He's clearly crazy. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And this whole scene doesn't work. Next scene, we introduce the black detective who is investigating the death of Madame Zora. He's talking with Rusev, and they have this very, very illuminating talk about smells. Places have certain smells. Bowling alleys smell a certain way. Strip clubs smell a certain way. Places have smells. And he says he smells pussy in this place, in this psychic's place. So, they're letting us know that the cop is on to this is a front for a brothel. Who cares? They talk about smells. Now we needed to introduce the black detective. We needed to get, somebody actually is investigating the murder of Madame Zora. Maybe that's creating a situation where we know somebody's on the trail of Jerry. Here's the thing. Once again, in the horrible script writing that goes on in this movie, we know that's a beat that needs to be established. Like so many beats that are established in this movie, it goes absolutely nowhere. The black cop, just spoiler alert, I'm sorry to give this away. The black cop has absolutely no impact on Jerry whatsoever in this movie. Back at Jerry's love nest with the box, he decides he's going to stick his fingers in the box to try to figure out why the sex is so good with this thing, and he pulls back some sex goo. Okay? It's unclear in this scene whether it's Jerry's own sex goo or if that's actually what's in the box. But sex goo, apparently, they kind of go on with this, but apparently this sex goo is what's giving these wonderful sensations to Jerry, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care either way. Jerry eventually has to go home, and his wife is there. The wife that we now know is not a whore bitch. No, she's just buying a snowblower, remember? She's reading, I thought it was funny, she's reading a book called Spilled Milk. It was clever. I don't know who put that in there, but that was clever. Spilled milk, Jerry and the bot. Yeah, you get it. They have a very awkward conversation, which is like every scene that Jerry and his wife Lisa are in. All of it's awkward. The dialogue's stupid. It's the acting is stupid. It's terrible. And then there's this very strange cut. Jerry's claiming that he's sick and that he's just going to go to bed and sleep it off. So he goes to bed, but really what he wants to do, he just wants to get alone again so that he can bang the box and, get himself off again because this box is apparently so amazing. And there's this, they have this really strange conversation that's an argument, but not really an argument. It's just an awkward conversation. And then in the very next scene, when Jerry's in the bedroom getting ready to, get his nuts off again. Lisa comes in and she's happy. She's happy and she's turned on because she catches Jerry basically playing with himself. And she's like, ooh, I'm here for the show. It's a very strange transition from this awkward scene where they're acting very uncomfortable to each other to the very next scene where she's happy and ready to sex him up. And it's very weird. It's an awkward transition. So then we get into the sex scene for this movie. After the argument, all of a sudden we're happy and we're ready to have sex. Lisa's boobies make an appearance here. It's very nice. Apparently, like I said, Sarah French is the actress who plays Lisa. And apparently, she's a good looking girl, got a nice body. So apparently somebody convinced her to, show some boobies in this film. And it's a very awkward sex scene. Sex scenes are whatever in mainstream movies, but this one's very weird. It's very awkward. I don't even know how to put into words how awkward the sex scene is. It's just strange. It's strange to watch. The point they're trying to get across is that Jerry has put the goo on his schwanz, and so it's making the sex really good for Jerry, but Lisa is not, really feeling it. It's not really working for her. And so it's this awkward, basically Jerry turns into the genetic jackhammer. He's just jackhammering Lisa big time. And she's sitting there telling him, oh, go slow, go slow. And he's just like, he's just pounding away. He's trying to go balls deep. And it's this weird, it's a very awkward thing. It's a very quick sex scene. But the whole thing is awkward. If I had been on set when this was being filmed, I would be completely embarrassed. And I would say, okay, we're cutting this scene because it's so awkward and weird. But again, this demonstrates the script writing in this movie, that we have to have a beat, right? We have to have the beat of these two having sex and Jerry using the magic sex goo from the box during their sex to set up something that's going to happen in the very next scene. So, they had to have this sex scene there. Probably wanted to get Sarah French's boobies out too, just to give it some, a little bit of nudity in this. But again, it's all very horribly constructed that we have to get the sex to happen so that we can set up the very next thing that's going to lead to another dead end for a story line or a plot line that we set up in an earlier scene. I'll explain what that means here. So the next morning, Lisa calls Officer Doofy in the generic office and is like, is Jerry cheating on me? What's going on? It's very weird. I don't know if she says we had sex last night. It was weird, but that's obviously the inciting factor here that led to her phone call, is that we had sex last night and it was weird. Mike denies it, blah, blah, blah. Again, this goes nowhere other than to tell us that Lisa knows something's weird about Jerry, but she doesn't know what it is. Then we go to Lisa in the shower, and she suddenly gets this these very bad cramps. There's a little bit of blood on the washcloth, I guess. Was it on the washcloth or did it just fall out? Anyway, Lisa has a miscarriage. We assume because Jerry decided to use the magic sex goo during their sex last night. Somehow that had some kind of bad reaction with Lisa's pregnancy, and so she has a miscarriage right there in the shower. So you see what I mean? We set up in the beginning, Lisa's cheating, then Jerry comes home, and then she announces she's pregnant. Now we found out Lisa's not cheating, and now we've got a nice convenient way to get rid of the baby. So everything that's been set up as what we understand the story to be in the very beginning All of those led to dead ends, and it had absolutely no impact on the story at all. It had no consequences. It was just, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, now I'm not. Oh, she was cheating. Oh, now she's not. All of these, that's where I get to this point where everything is just, it's beats. They've outlined the script. Okay, we need this to happen. We need this to happen. We need this to happen. Let's put these little common tropes in the script to make sure that we can get to where we need to be to hit the beats. So, well, Lisa's not cheating and Lisa's not pregnant anymore because she just had a miscarriage. Great. That really advances the story in a wonderful way, I suppose, if you're the writers. We're back to the Black Detective, and again, bad writing. Black Detective is still investigating Madame Zora's death at the brothel, and he has this strange feeling that something was stolen. Now, in everything that the movie has shown us, he has absolutely no reason to believe this. He has no evidence to go on to believe this. There's been nothing shown in this movie to indicate that anything was stolen. Rusev didn't tell him anything was stolen. None of the girls told him anything was stolen. He just has this feeling, kind of like the smells thing. He just knows something was stolen, which leads to this scene with him and Rusev up in the bedroom where the box used to be, and he just says, well, what was on this table? And Rusev says it was a box. And he's like, what was in the box? And, they have this whole, again, this is I don't know what purpose this serves. Honestly, now that I sit here and think about it, I don't know what purpose this serves at all, because he has no indication whatsoever of that anything was stolen. And then we have this whole back and forth between them about the box being stolen. I don't know. Again, this is either whatever the intention was in the script or the writers to do this. I don't know what they were hoping to accomplish, but I don't think it actually accomplished it. Back to Jerry, and we've reached another point in the script where we have to have some problems here. And the problem is that the joy juice has dried up inside the box. Jerry is not getting his nut-busting glory like he used to. Apparently something is wrong inside the box, and it's dried up, and it's starting to, shred his balls. Actually, I don't know if he's putting his balls in the box. I would imagine he's not. Anyway, he's getting tenderized by the lack of lubrication inside the box. And so he has to find out what's going on. It's kind of leading to this strange, rash starting to develop in Jerry's nether regions. So Jerry goes to the doctor, and yet again, for about the third or fourth time in this movie, we have another strange conflict scene that has no reason to have conflict. Jerry goes to the doctor. Him and the doctor are immediately confrontational with one another. Just like Jerry was confrontational with the maid, just like Jerry was confrontational with the bartender. I don't understand this writing in the script. I don't understand why everybody is immediately confrontational, because it's not like the doctor's being nice to him. As soon as Jerry is confrontational, the doctor is immediately confrontational back, and these two have beef, and they have absolutely no reason to have beef. They're just immediately at each other's throats in a certain way that makes no sense. It's not realistic. That's not how this would happen. I don't get it. So Jerry goes back home. He's homesick with a sore dick. Lisa comes in. We have maybe the worst acted scene in the whole movie right here. This bedroom scene where Lisa lets it go. She announces that she has had a miscarriage, and Jerry's just like, oh, well, that's too bad. He gives no no shits about it at all. No F's are given. And there's this very horribly acted scene. I would skip it. Again, this serves no purpose other than to tie up that storyline that we started that went nowhere of Lisa's pregnant and now she's not. Skipping a few things and moving along here, Jerry has discovered that the sex box, the sex goo, has completely dried up inside the box, and so he knows that he has to open the box. He has to figure out what is inside this box. So clearly, from a script writing and movie standpoint, we're trying to get to this big moment of the box and what's in the box. We've got to answer this mystery. Believe me, it will be disappointing when we do finally find out what's in the box. But he goes to this hardware store. It's another weird thing about this is kind of low budget movies. I don't understand. He goes to this hardware store, and the guy behind the counter, this younger guy, sells him a used pair of bolt cutters, because Jerry needs bolt cutters, right? He's got to be able to cut that lock off the box so that he can finally see what's inside. He gets sold a used pair of bolt cutters. It's just very weird. Why? Just go to the hardware store for real, get some bolt cutters in a package, and sell him some in the package. Why would you? Guy goes to the back and finds some used bolt cutters, and it's like, well, I could sell them to you used. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's very odd. Back at Jerry's sex dungeon, his sex hotel room, he pops the lock with the bolt cutters, and we get the moment of truth, right? We get the moment where the box is open. Apparently, it smells really, really terrible. Jerry pulls it out, but they're very careful to make sure that we don't see what it is he's pulling out. They're not ready to give that away yet. They do give it away eventually. They're not ready to give that away. So Jerry, gets the thing out of the box. He puts it on the bed. He goes balls deep in it in the bed. And, that's just a moment where they're teasing us what's going to happen. I guess they're teasing us that we are going to see what's in the box eventually, because he's now taking it out of the box, and the reveal's really stupid. Trust me, it's not anything that amazing. But we move on. Jerry's rash is getting much worse. It's not just kind of a skin rash thing. It's turning into blisters, and oh man, it's terrible. Lisa is getting the mail. She's coming in. It's a very long scene just to help pad the runtime of Lisa walking around with the mail and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? She looks at the credit card bill. No, she's opening the credit card bill. Then she gets a call from Jerry's work, and they're like, is Jerry ever coming back to work? And she's like, what are you talking about? He's supposed to be at work, and blah, blah. Again, this just plotting, baby's first script plots here. She looks at the credit card and sees a charge for the seedy hotel, his dungeon there, his sex dungeon with his thing that he's doing with the box. So anyway, Lisa now knows where Jerry is. She knows he's been lying to her. So we have the big confrontation between Lisa and Jerry. Very strange scene when Lisa finally gets to the hotel and confronts Jerry about all the lies. There is this very distracting, horribly, awfully mixed conversation that's happening. What I learned as a few scenes later is that, Jerry has the TV on. So this distracting conversation that's happening is supposed to be coming from the TV, but the way it's mixed, it makes it very difficult to hear the horrible acting going on between Lisa and Jerry. And it's just so horribly mixed. I mean, if you want this thing to sound like it's coming off the TV, then run some processes on it to make it, less stereo and to sound more like a TV. It's a very simple plug-in in Adobe Audition that you run to make something sound like it's coming through a TV. And it helps to offset it to our ears so that we can hear the dialogue as dialogue and the secondary noise dialogue as something, It was very bizarre. It sounded like the conversation was happening in the same room, which I get it. It's a TV, but it had the same sound. It had the same stereo and fullness to it that the actual dialogue does. And so you have these cross dialogues happening. It makes it very difficult to follow what's happening. It's completely distracting to the scene. It's complete failure on the part of director, editor, audio mixer. Why the hell would you leave that so high in this so momentous scene between Lisa and Jerry? Why would you have a distraction there? Something that is so horribly distracting. Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you mix this down in a way where we can have all of our focus on this big moment between Lisa and Jerry that we've been building to? Why wouldn't you do that? Why? I don't get it. So we have the big reveal moment. Apparently Jerry has been putting what's in the box in the shower to help get it moist. And Lisa discovers it. She looks down at it. It's the stupidest thing you've ever seen. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. It's the stupidest thing you've ever seen. She sees the goo. It's basically all it is. It's a ball of goo, and it looks really stupid. Apparently, Jerry has just, reached the end of his line. He puts the weakest ass looking chokehold on Lisa, right? He's got to kill Lisa. She knows his secret. She's in the way of his massive plot that he's got. So he's got to kill Lisa. And, so he does with this weak ass looking chokehold. Again, nothing against the actor. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but this guy, looks about as deadly as a cricket. Okay, he's not a dangerous looking person. I don't buy him as a dangerous person in any way, shape, or form, and I don't know why anybody else would either. So Lisa isn't quite dead, right? We have that moment where she kind of gasps and, oh my God. And anyway, he ends up killing her with the bolt cutter. So Lisa's out of the picture, right? We've now crossed over. Not only has Jerry killed Madame Zora, but he's crossed over to where he's killed Lisa. He's starting to go off the edge, paint by numbers script. Well, now with Lisa out of the picture, Jerry can go home, right? I mean, she's not going to be there to screw with him at the house, so he can go home. He goes home. Hey, guess what? Remember that whole my wife was getting a snowblower for my birthday thing, and that's what made me think she was cheating? Well, we have it delivered by Dick. Dick, the snowblower salesman. I'm not lying. They gave him the name of Dick. So let's recap some of the names here in this wonderfully written script. We've got Jerry. We've got Mike. We've got Lisa. We've got Dick. Wonderful. Man. These two dudes who wrote the script, and I don't have their names in front of me, but really putting in the overtime on the creativity here. So we've learned from the magic sex goo being in the shower that Jerry has to keep it moist. Otherwise, it will lose its effectiveness and he won't be able to nut in it anymore. So he's keeping it nice and moist. I just wanted to say that word, moist. I know a lot of people hate that word, moist. So I hope that really irritated you that I said moist. So there's a news story about the death of Madame Zora, and Ivan is the character's name, but I like to call him Rusev because he reminds me of Rusev. Speaking directly into the camera, tells whoever took the very important thing from here, I am the only person that can help you. You need to come to me because I'm the only person that can help you. Setting up what's going to happen in the very final scene. Jerry gives the key back to the hotel. It was another stupid scene, just padding the time. Officer Doofy goes to the house because he sees the news report and he's figured out that Jerry has done something really bad. So he goes to the house. He walks around. Eventually, Jerry gets back and They have another horrible dialogue, horribly acted scene between the two of them. And eventually, Jerry puts a bag over Officer Doofy's head, and Officer Doofy kills himself. Not that I've ever put a plastic bag over anybody's head and killed them, but from, the physics of the thing is you would put it over somebody's head and you would tighten it really tight, right? So that they were essentially suffocating themselves. But what we see in this shot, in this scene, is Officer Doofy sucking the bag into his mouth so that he's suffocating himself. All Jerry's doing is he puts the plastic bag over his head, and Officer Doofy does the rest by sucking the bag into his mouth. Very, again, weak scene. Why anybody would believe that Jerry is capable of hurting anyone, I don't know. But, we got to have Jerry be the bad guy here. Jerry continues his downward spiral, and he somehow, I can't remember, discovers that he's got to go back to the source, right? He's got to go back to the brothel and hook up with Rusev to get help from this out-of-control rash, disease, whatever that's happening to him. So he eventually does, right? He's killed Madame Zora, he's killed Lisa, he's killed his friend, Officer Doofy Mike, and so he's hitting rock bottom. He knows he's got to go back. So he goes back to Madame Zora's. He meets with Rusev. Rusev says, I can help you, blah, 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 blah. I guess I've gone this far. I won't ruin the entire movie for you. I'll leave you one piece of the movie that you would actually have to see to know what happens. But something happens that is kind of the payoff, I suppose, according to the scriptwriters, the payoff for this movie, if you can call it that. I don't know that I would call it that, but it's supposed to be the payoff of what happens to Jerry and what happens in the brothel. A coda to this movie is the scene where the black detective comes back and he claims he has solved the case. Something about DNA on the money, right? Think about this. DNA on the money proved that it was Jerry. So black detective has solved the case because of DNA on the money. Think about that. How many people do you think have handled this money in recent times? But somehow the cops miraculously got DNA off the actual dollar bills, y'all, to figure out that it was Jerry all along. Case closed. Isn't that wonderful? The big finish to the coda is that the black detective decides that, hey, maybe he wants to break him off a piece of one of these girls because, he's had a hard time solving this case, all three of his scenes or whatever. He's figured it all out. It's time to celebrate with a little bit of some of that wing action. And so Rusev offers him the special. And on it goes. You see what I mean? That it's a very Twilight Zone kind of thing. It's very cyclical. We start someplace, we see all the progression and the downfall, and then on it goes over and over again. It's a very typical trope. If I have not ruined this movie for you already, it's not a laugh because it's a bad kind of movie. It's more of just gawk at it because, oh my God, this is so stupidly written. And I will say this. It is competently shot. Whoever the cinematographer is, the lighting. All right. Oh, no, time out. The lighting is a little bit cheesy. We've got some red lighting that happens in places and some obvious blue lighting that happens in some background places to kind of set the mood. It's a little too heavy-handed for me. I would like something a little bit more subtle in the lighting. But cinematography is fine. According to credits, it was shot on a red camera, which, you're always going to get really good quality out of that. Sets were very generic, low budget. There's, can't fault that. Director, I'm sorry, guy. I don't know why you made the choices that you made to let these actors do what they did. I think every scene comes off like they're zombies. They're just sleepwalking through their performances. They're saying dialogue that makes no sense. Don't know why you didn't, trim that up a little bit and get people to actually act like real people versus just, automatons or whatever I'm trying to say. I don't know why you didn't just get better performances out of the actors. So I can't say much for the director. The script is just, the script hits the beats, okay? In story, in principle, I think you could do something with this story. It's a cool story, right? It's sex, it's supernatural, it's kind of horror. I think the idea is fine. I think the execution of the script was just absolutely horrid. Dialogue is terrible. It's fake. It's very stage play. The delivery of the lines, again, very fake and stage play and horrible. Actors, I can't believe Jerry. Maybe Jerry was fine. I think the actor for Jerry was probably fine for the role. But I think you should have written the role better to play the actor's strengths, because this guy is not believable as somebody who is unhinged and somebody who has somehow become dangerous. He's just not believable in that situation. Lisa is very nice to look at, but not exactly skilled as your lead actress in this. I don't know that they had a lead actor. I don't know what their selection was on that kind of thing. Her acting's just not good. Just not good. Not believable. Everybody else's side characters, Officer Doofy and our black detective and Rusev and the bartender and all that kind of, whatever. They're just typical B, C, D players in a very low budget horror film. Overall, I would not recommend you watch The Special. If you're actually looking for a good movie that you want to enjoy, don't watch The Special. If, however, you're looking for kind of a campy movie that you can kind of laugh at and be like, wow, that was dumb, or wow, that was horrible. Not in a laughing, having fun kind of way, like, a Best of the Worst by Red Letter Media or something. It's not that level of bad. It's just, in general, a bad, low-budget movie. Anyway, thanks for hanging around for this long explanation of The Special.